On the edge of the world, there was a town that seemed to stand still in time, nestled between an endless stretch of desolate plains and a mountain range that kissed the sky. It was a place where the moon was not just a celestial body, but a guardian, a silent witness to all that transpired below. The town, Elowen, was a place so obscure that maps did not mark it, and history had long forgotten its name. The residents spoke in whispers, hiding from the outside world, as though something eternal and ancient had settled within their walls, keeping them bound to this forgotten place, and perhaps it was. At the heart of the town stood an imposing clock tower. It was said to have been built by a lost civilization, and its hands never moved, though time seemed to continue around it. A clock that had never ticked. Among the residents, there was one who stood apart from the rest, Ariela. She was a woman whose beauty matched the mystery of the place itself, with eyes that shimmered like the moonlight reflected on water and hair that cascaded like midnight silk. But her beauty was not the source of her distinction. It was the sorrow that lingered in her presence, as though she carried a burden far greater than any could imagine. Ariela's life had been one of isolation. She had no family, no roots. She lived alone in a small cottage on the edge of the town, a place where the winds whispered and the trees seemed to sway with ancient secrets. People in the town had heard rumors about her, that she could communicate with the moon, that she held knowledge of a forgotten truth, and that the secrets of Elowen were somehow tied to her. But no one dared to ask her. It was a night like any other. The sky was cloaked in darkness, with only the faintest trace of the moon's glow cutting through the night. But tonight, something was different. As Ariela sat by the window, looking out over the plains, she felt the familiar tug at her soul, a pull, strong and urgent, calling her toward the mountain range. It was as if the moon itself whispered her name. She had always known the call, ever since she was a child, though she never understood it. The townsfolk often spoke of legends, of the moon's curse, a curse that bound the souls of the town's founders to the land forever. Some said the curse was meant to protect the town from some unspeakable evil. Others whispered that it was a punishment for a forgotten sin. But Ariela did not care for such stories. She had always felt the pull, and tonight it was stronger than ever. Ariela donned a long cloak and stepped outside, the cool night air brushing against her skin. The road was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. She walked toward the mountain, her feet light on the ground, as though she were being guided by some unseen force. The mountain loomed ahead, an ancient sentinel in the night. At its base, Ariela found the entrance, hidden from view by vines and rocks. It was a narrow passage, a secret path that led deeper into the mountain's heart. The air grew colder as she descended, but Ariela felt no fear. She had been here before, in dreams and memories that did not belong to her. At the end of the path, there was a vast cavern. In its center stood an altar, carved from stone, ancient and weathered. On the altar was a crystal, a pale blue stone that glowed with a faint light. Ariela approached it, her heart racing, and placed her hand upon the stone. The moment she touched it, the world around her shifted. Suddenly, the cavern was no longer still. The walls began to tremble, and from the depths of the earth, voices began to echo. They were whispers at first, then grew louder, clearer, as though they were speaking directly to her. "Do you remember?" the voices asked, their tones both familiar and strange. "Do you remember what was lost?" Ariela closed her eyes, and in that moment, memories that were not her own flooded her mind. She saw the town of Elowen in its prime, a place of beauty and joy. She saw its people, once filled with laughter, now turned to shadows of their former selves. And at the heart of it all, she saw the moon, not as it was, but as it once had been, glowing with an otherworldly light that bathed the land in an eternal, unbroken glow. The truth of Elowen was revealed to her in a rush. The town had not always been cursed, nor had the moon always been distant. Once, the moon had been a living entity, a being of light and love, bound to the town and its people. But a betrayal so great that it shattered the fabric of their world, had caused the moon to withdraw, leaving the town in perpetual twilight. Ariela herself was no mere woman. She was a descendant of the betrayer, the last in a bloodline marked by the moon's fury. It was her destiny to restore the balance, to heal the wound that had torn the moon from its place and cast the town into darkness. As the vision faded, Ariela stood alone in the cavern, the weight of the revelation pressing down upon her. The whispers had ceased, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. She knew what she had to do. Ariela returned to Elowen, the burden of her destiny heavy upon her. The clock tower still stood, unmoving, its hands forever frozen in time. But now she understood. The curse would only be broken when the moon returned to its rightful place. As the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, Ariela stood before the clock tower, a single tear tracing her cheek. She would face the consequences of her bloodline. She would face the wrath of the moon, but she would also face the possibility of redemption. For in the end, there was only one truth that mattered. The moon had not abandoned them. They had abandoned the moon. Ariela, born into this cursed bloodline, was the key to restoring the balance. The crystal in the cavern held the essence of the moon, and she alone had the power to undo the damage her ancestor had caused. Ariela placed her hand on the crystal, and the world around her seemed to collapse. The sky cracked open with silver light, and she relived the memories of the moon, feeling its pain and love for the town. The moon's spirit reached out to her with sorrow, not anger. In that moment, Ariela knew her purpose: to heal the wound her ancestor had caused. The moon began to rise again, bathing the land in its light, and the eternal twilight lifted. Time resumed its flow, and the town of Elowen was restored, forever changed but reborn. The town now had a chance to rebuild, united with the celestial guardian once more.